Okay, today we begin on the Gemara Yud Ches. Oh, what happened? Just jumped on me. Yud Ches on a base. I don't know why it just flipped on me over there. And we're about 9-10 lines from the top. There was a discussion on the Gemara before with Reb Chia and Reb Yonasan. They were walking through a grave, and Reb Yonasan's tzitzis were dragging along the ground. And Reb Chia said to Reb Yonasan, you're insulting the dead, you're mocking the dead because you're showing them that you could do mitzvahs while they can't. To which Reb Yonasan said, no, but there's a pasuk that says the dead don't know what's going on. So Reb Chia said, I'm sorry, but you don't understand the interpretation of that pasuk. It means that the wicked are considered like they're dead even when they're alive. Well, the tzaddikim are considered alive even when they're dead. And he brought proofs for all that. So now, while he was dealing with those psukim, Reb Chia finishes up the drasha, but clearly Reb Chia felt the dead are aware of what's going on after they're dead. So now he just finishes up the drasha of the pasuk. And the pasuk ends, "V'hamesim eina yodim me'uma," but the dead know nothing at all. Instead of the way Rabbi Yonasan learned the pshat, that the dead don't know anything, Rabbi Chia said, no, it doesn't mean like that. It means elu rishoyim shebachayim kruyim mesim. These are the wicked people that in their lifetimes they are called the dead. So what does it mean they know nothing at all? It means they know nothing of the most important thing that they need to know. They pay no heed to the fact that one day they die and they're going to have to give a reckoning for what they're doing. It's interesting. The Medrash Tanchuma says why the wicked are considered dead in their own lifetime. Because they see the sun shining and do not bless God for it by saying, who forms the light, Yotzer or Vorei Choshech. They see it setting and they don't say the blessing of Hamariv Aravim, who brings the evenings. They eat and drink and don't give blessings to Hashem. So since they have a lack of spiritual sensitivity, they are considered dead. In other words, we're talking about Jewish people who have a divine soul, which is their real life. And if they're not in tune with their real life, so it's like they're dead. They're not living eternally. When you're living with the soul, it eternalizes your life. And when you're not connected there, you're not eternalizing your life. Imagine if, let's give a mashal like this. You are investing money, okay? And there's various investments you can make in life. During RSP season, you're shown all kinds of investments you can make. So you kind of take $1 million, right? And you want to invest it to get a good return. And some things a little more high risk than others, right? So you can get certain things that, give you a 2% return, 5% return, 8% return, maybe even something. What if it even doubles your money? Wow. But what if you just take the money and you don't do anything with it? Just let it sit. And it starts devaluating with inflation. So it's sort of the same thing. So it's like the money's dead. No, you're not doing anything with it. So the same thing in this world, every moment it's called time with a soul that you're meant to invest. And when you're using it wisely and you're investing and getting a return on it, then it's alive. It's doing something for you. It's not sitting statically. As opposed to when you're just having a soul, you're not doing anything with it. So it's dead. Nothing's happening with it. So that's what it means that the wicked in their lifetimes, they're dead. It's like they're not investing that which God gave them. And what's the pasuk to support that idea? Shenemar, the pasuk says, "Va'ata cholol rosha nesi Yisrael," and you corpse of wickedness, Prince of Israel. So in this pasuk, King Tzidkiyo is he's referred to, King Tzidkiyo, who was referred to as a corpse, even though he was still alive at that time. So it shows that the wicked are considered actually dead in their lifetime. Now, the truth is, it's a little bit difficult. Tzidkiyahu was a tzaddik, although the people were wicked. But still, the pasuk treats him as a wicked person since it was in his power to protest the wicked deeds, and he didn't. So therefore, he's considered a dead man. So that's clear where a living person is referred to as a dead, because in that area is considered like a wicked person. That's one pasuk that supports that idea. People, you say, if you prefer, I can give another pasuk that supports the idea. This is already in Sefer Dvorim. It says, Al pi shnayim eidim or al pi shlosh eidim yumas hames. If by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, the dead person shall be put to death. So what do you mean the dead person shall be put to death? If he's dead already, you don't have to put him to death. So the answer is, well, the question rather is, Chayu, he's alive. So why is he referred to as the dead person? Elohames Mekor, the person who's dead from the outset, even though when he is alive. That's what Torah is saying. A person who does a crime that's so bad, so he's already he's a dead person, already a Russia. So kill the person, already a dead person. So therefore, Reb Chia very strongly contradicted Rabbi Yonason's position and has proven that two things are here. That the dead people realize what's going on in this world, because the pasuk that Rabbi Yonason brought was not learned correctly. And on top of that, the pasuk means that the Rishoyim are like dead people in this world. Okay, so now we're going to have a few stories that are going to discuss this idea of people, of if the deceased are aware of what's going on in this world or not. So we'll start with Bnei Reb Chia, the sons of Reb Chia. That makes the most sense to start with them, because the discussion we had before was with Reb Chia and Reb Yonason. And Reb Chia was the one that was saying that the dead people are aware of what's going on in this world. So now, Bnei Reb Chia, Nafuk Lekiryasa. So the sons of Reb Chia went to the villages where they had their family estates. And they were, whatever, relaxing. They stayed for a bit of time. I guess they were in yeshiva for a while. The father had passed on. So I guess they weren't so engaged in their Talmudic studies. And what happened is they stayed so long, iyakar lahu talmudayu. They forgot their learning. And they took great pains to recall what they had learned. So now they're asking each other the following. One brother said to the other, he said, Yoda avun b'haitzar, do you think our father is aware of the pain we are going through of trying to remember the Torah that we have forgotten? Do you think he knows about it or not? Amarle, so the other brother said, Idach, the other brother responded, Mino Yoda, how could he know being dead? And now he brings a pasuk that would suggest they would not know. It says in the writings in the book of Eov, Yichbedu vanav velo yeda. His sons may attain honor. We're talking about a deceased person. His sons may attain honor, and he will not know it. So it appears from that pasuk that a deceased don't know what's going on. But the other brother said, Lo yada, but does the dead not know? But it says in the text, in the very next pasuk, in Eov, the very next pasuk, you bring a proof that he doesn't know. It says, Ach besara alav yich of, but his flesh will pain him. V'nafsho alav tavol, and his spirit will mourn for him. And what does that mean? V'amar Rabbi Yitzchak says, Kosher rimo lameis, kemachad bivsar hachai. When the body decomposes and as the worms start eating up the body, it's as painful to the dead as a needle stuck into living flesh. So obviously the dead are aware of their bodies going through that. So if they're aware of that, they're probably aware of other things that are going on. Now, obviously, this second son was following the view of his father, Reb Chia, that he maintained as we saw from last week, where he told Rabbi Yonah's son to go pick up your tzitzis from the ground. So one son, I guess they even forgot the father's opinion originally. But one son brought a proof from the beginning of the pasuk, the dead don't know what's going on, and the second son brings a proof from the second part of the pasuk, the dead do know what's going on. So the brother said, that's not a proof from that second half of the pasuk, because maybe it's limited. Amri, the Gemara, rejects the proof from the second half of the pasuk, because it could be Bitsara Didho Yodei. Maybe they know their own suffering. When the worms are eating up the body, their own body, they're aware of that. Now, but others, that's going to say that they're not going to be aware of. So now we have to understand, what is this pain exactly? Because the body is dead. So what is the deceased feeling? So the Tosaf Yontiv explains that they don't really feel the actual pain of the worm eating up their body, but it's the neshama that is pained by observing that the body is going through that. It's more of a spiritual pain. It's a spiritual pain of seeing the body that housed the neshama for its lifetime being devoured. So that brings a spiritual pain to the neshama that is greater than or is equal to if the physical body had a pin going through it when it was alive. But anyway, Gemara says that pasuk's only a proof that he realizes his own pain. Bitsara dachrina lo yada. But other people's pain, he doesn't know. So it's no proof that they are aware of other people's pain, and therefore it could very well be Rabbi is not aware of the pain that his sons are going through. To which the Gemara now is going to bring a lengthy and very interesting story to say, wait a minute, we're going to see even the dead are aware of things beyond their own existence. The law, are you telling me they don't know the affairs of the world? But Tanya, we learn in the Brisa the following story. There's one time a story with a pious man, and the Maharsha says whenever it says it's a pious man, it's either Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi or Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava. Okay, what happened? Shenosan dinar la'ani be'erev Rosh Hashanah b'shnei vatzores. He gave a dinar of charity to a poor man on Erev Rosh Hashanah in a year of famine. So there wasn't a lot of money to go around. And I guess he gave a little bit more tzedakah than his wife was comfortable with him doing. V'hiknitatu ishto. And his wife provoked him over it. Okay, so it seems there's other Gemaras that showed Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi was very poor. And it seems that he gave away his last dinar. Guess he felt so bad for the other Jew, he forgot about his own spiritual plight, and he gave away his last dinar. And the wife's upset about it. So it's Erev Rosh Hashanah. You can imagine, we already told you many times that on Erev Shabbos, the Satan works very hard to destroy Shalom Bayis in a house. The one thing to take away the power of Shabbos is a lack of Shalom Bayis fighting. It's symbolic, Shabbos is the world to come. Erev Shabbos is symbolic of the Ikvus of the Mashiach. So Satan doesn't want Mashiach to come, makes all kinds of problems before the Mashiach comes. So he makes all kinds of problems before Shabbos comes. It's not a coincidence that most fights that spouses have, if you have to look between which 7 days of the week, it's usually on Erev Shabbos. Because there's, a lot of things to get ready, and have to be ready on time. Now just imagine now Erev Rosh Hashanah, how much has to get ready and how significant the day is. So the wife is provoking him. So the husband, doesn't want to engage in the provocations. So there's a Gemara that says, if you recall, you should always fight against your Yetzer Hara. You should always engage your Yetzer Hara. And if you succeed, fine. If not, then the word gives you a number of remedies. First, starting with learning Torah. Then if that doesn't work, then say the Shema. If that doesn't work, think of the day of death. Well, it's Erev Rosh Hashanah, and the guy doesn't have a lot of time to deal with his Yetzer Hara, so he jumps right to the last method. Think of the day of death. So what does he do instead of fighting with his wife? So he goes to lie down in the cemetery on the night of Rosh Hashanah. Okay. So, there's a whole discussion. Some say, how is it possible? Tzaddik goes and sleeps in a grave. Some think it's a dream, but others learn it's Pashut Pshat. And I've explained to you why he's going in the grave, so that he'll remember the day of death and he's not going to fight with his wife. Anyway, be that as it may, he's lying in a grave. He's lying in the cemetery next to the graves over there. And Veshama Shte Ruchos Shemisapros Ulazu. He hears two spirits that are speaking with each other. Now, of course, they're not exactly using their mouths. They don't have mouths. And when we're talking about the Maharsha says, we're talking about the nefesh, which is the lowest part of the 5 levels of the soul. And that remains in the body of the person who's dead, even though the rest has gone up to Shemayim. And the higher parts go to higher realms. So even though here the Gemara speaks of the Ruach, so the Ruach's the part of the soul that's an intermediate between the Nefesh and the Neshama. There's different levels of soul. And so therefore, it's sometimes it's free to roam around. So it's the spiritual levels. The ability to speak comes from the level of soul called Ruach. So that ability to speech, remember, we always think of things in terms of via our physical body. You have to know your body is able to use the mouth because of the soul's property of Ruach that enable it to speak. It's a divine power to speak. But you know what? You don't have to communicate in a way that only where a voice is speaking. You can communicate in other ways, mentally, whatever. So spirits are communicating with each other. So he is a big tzaddik, he's a chassid, so he's able to hear this communication. What was the communication? So one soul said to the other, Chaverti, my friend, let's go and roam the world. And let's hear what's going on beyond the partitions of the divine presence. And we're going to hear a little bit, because it's Rosh Hashanah, what misfortune is going to come to the world. Now, you have to say, according to many commentaries, it's the second night of Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because the first night of Rosh Hashanah, only the tzaddikim are judged for their good, and everybody else is not judged till later on. So anyway, and there are harsh decrees given on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so there's this, you have to balance the discussion, so if he got a fight with her on Erev Rosh Hashanah, okay, maybe he was able to take it for a day, and then it was just getting too hard, whatever. Be that as it may, he's sleeping, he's in the cemetery, and the one says the other, okay, let's go and hear what's happening. But the friend said, sorry, I can't join you. Why? My family was so poor, I was buried in a matting made out of reeds, which was the cheapest type of shroud. It wasn't even a shroud. So what does that have to do anything? So on the one hand, the simple level is, so she was ashamed to be seen in such attire. Okay, now again, they're not going out with their bodies. Their bodies aren't leaving. So what's going on over there? But there's a certain degree of shame that the soul was experiencing. Okay, there was never a proposition to leave with a body dressed that way, but still the soul was felt embarrassed that way. Other commentaries say like this, that Tzlach says, as long as the body is not decomposed, the spirit can't fully disengage from it. That's why the dead are buried in linen shrouds, which decompose quickly, so that the soul will be able to leave, so to speak. Since this girl was buried in reed matting, her body was not able to decompose completely. Be that as it may, she wasn't able to leave. So therefore, but she said, Elachiyat, but you go out, you can go. Umasha'at shomas, and that which you hear, Amri, go tell me. So the other soul goes to the other side of the curtain, as it were. Vishata roams around Uba and returned. From Allah Chaverti, the friend said, Chaverti, my friend, ma shamata, What did you hear from behind the curtain? Amar lo, she said, Shamati, I heard. Remember, it was a time of famine. Shekala zoreya beravia rishona barad malkaso. There are different times when the rains come. And the rains in Eretz Yisrael, we know, only come in the winter. And there's the first of the rains, the second of the rains, different rains that come. So this is all in halacha and Maseches times. Well, the first of the winter rains is supposed to come from the 17th of Cheshvan, which is about 3 weeks, so to speak, after Sukkot. Starts on the 17th of Cheshvan. And the second wave of the rain comes on the 23rd of that month. And the third wave of the rain comes on the 1st of Kislev. Okay, those are the different types of rain. So she heard like this: whoever plants their crops at the time of the first rain, later on will be destroyed by hail, which means to say, that means they're planted right away. Either you're planting by the first rain, second rain, third, whatever. So in other words, you're saying those who planted early, the crops, as time progresses, will start to grow. And then there's going to be a huge hailstorm that will come later, and the crops that are already higher up will be destroyed. So if you're planting out by the first rain, it's going to get destroyed by the hailstorms. But if you plant later on, so then the crops won't be so high and they won't be damaged by the hail. So whoever plants, and most people planted by the first raining, because you want to get it as much in as you can with rain and everything to get the best crops. So he's been given a stock tip, as it were. If you're planting early this year, like everybody's going to do, it ain't going to work. So he says, great, I heard the stock tip, and a smart investor doesn't share it with anybody. So what happens after Rosh Hashanah, a month later, 2 months later, halachu, so he gets up, and then when it comes time, the planting season, he does not plant in the first planting season, first rain. Everybody's planting, he's not. He plants in the second season. What happened later on in the winter? When the hailstorms came, everybody's crops got wiped out. But but his did not get destroyed. And now he became very rich. And that was the reward he got for giving the dinar to the poor person on Erev Rosh Hashanah. Good, nice story. Well, now this guy is pretty smart. He never realized if you sleep in the cemetery on Rosh Hashanah, you get some good tips. So, Lashona Acheres, next year, Rosh Hashanah, he goes and lies down in the cemetery again to see what he could hear. And he hears these two spirits again communicating with each other. Same story. One said to the other spirit, let's go and roam the world. We'll hear what calamities are going to happen from the other side of the curtain. Amrullah, the friend replied, Chevrati, my friend, lo kacha marti lach, didn't I already tell you, Eini Yachol, I'm not able to go. Shani kfur b'machshela shel kanim, I'm buried in mats of reeds. And why the same questions? Because the first soul thought, I guess a year later, she finally would have decomposed and then be able to, the body decompose, and then she could fly with her. Says, no, I haven't yet decomposed because the matting is retarding the decomposition a long time. So they were the same thing. El Lachiat, but you go. Umasha'at shomas boivamra. Whatever year, come back. Vamrlia, tell to me. So so she went out, roamed around, and came back. Vamrla chaverta, and the friend said, Chaverti, my friend, ma shamata, what did you hear? Machari aparga, from the other side of the curtain. Amrullah, she said to her, Shamati, I heard. She called out Zayreya, Baravia Shnia, Shidifon Malkaso. This time, anyone who plants at the time of the second rain will be blasted by the dry wind, which means those winds affect soft plants. So if you were planted the regular first rainy time, the plant's strong and the winds won't destroy it. If you plant the second rain part, they're soft and they'll be destroyed. So, okay, so it's a little bit opposite of the year before. So I guess many people from the previous years, what happened, so this year, everyone's planting in the second season because they didn't want to get hurt by hail. And let's see what happens. So Halach V'Zara B'Revia Rishona. So this time he planted in the first season, so his crops would be strong enough to withstand the winds. But Shalkol Olam Kula Nishtaf. But everybody else who planted at the second season of the rain, they were all blasted by the wind. But Vishalol Nishtaf. But his was not blasted. So again, he becomes very wealthy even more. So unbelievable. 2 years in a row. Now, who do you think is noticing this? Amrlo Ishto, his wife said to him, how come last year everybody's crops were destroyed by the hail? And yours was not destroyed. And this year, the whole world's crops have been blasted by the wind. And yours was not blasted. So he really didn't want to tell her, but I guess she was persistent. So he told her the whole story that happened over the last year or so. So she goes, okay, okay, very good. We're very fortunate, we're very blessed. But he made a big mistake because the wife not only knows the secret of his wealth, but he knows, she also knows there were these two spirits talking to each other, and that one of them was buried in the reeds because the family was so poor. Now, generally, when that happens, it's not the kind of thing you want to show off to all the people in the community. We're so poor that our daughter was buried in reeds. There's a Chevra Kadisha, they keep it quiet, so nobody really knew this fact. So now this woman has a little piece of information that it makes her aware of the poverty of some of her neighbor. They were so poor they couldn't even give their daughter a respectful burial. Keep that in mind. So anyway, Amru, they say, people tell over the story. It was not more than a few days later at Shenafla Katata that a quarrel broke out between the man of that chassid, ubein ima shalosa riva, and the mother of this girl who was buried in the mattress, the reed mattress there. They got into a fight. When we get in the fight, sometimes you insult people. So Amrullah, so the wife of the chassid, during the course of the quarrel, said to the other woman, Lechi, come, varech, and I will show you what? Bitech, your daughter, shikfura b'machzela shalkanim, that she was buried with mats of reeds. So she gave her a good zug, she hurt her feelings. How she knew that? Because the husband told her the whole story. Anyway, you could tell already why this man was a chassid. To have such a wife, man, and to be able to hold it in and not fight with her and go sleep in a cemetery, whatever. You can imagine he's a chassid that he had such a wife. Anyway, it was not a good idea to share the idea. Lashona Acheres, the following year, the guy figures, Halach Valon B'Veis Akvaris. He goes to, again, lie in the graveyard again because he wants to know it's going to be the future. So he hears the spirits talking to each other again. So one spirit says, let's go and roam the world again. Let's hear from the other side of the curtain what misfortune is going to come to the world. This time the spirit said, my friend, leave me be. The words that have been spoken between ourselves in the past, the living are hearing it. In other words, she was aware of the insult that her mother got from the wife of this chassid, what's going on, and therefore, we can't do this anymore. People are not supposed to hear what we're saying. So what do we see from all this? It seems to be a proof. Al Mayadi, it appears that the dead know very well what's spoken by the living, because that spirit was aware how the mother got insulted. So it appears these were the two brothers of the sons of Rabbi Chia. We're discussing, would father know about our pain or not? I mean, that's what's coming back. And says, well, from this story, it appeared that they know. And that seems to be the proof. The Gemara says, not necessarily. Dilma inish achrini shachir. It's possible another person died in the interim between the second overhearing of the conversation and the third year of the Rosh Hashanahs. Could be somebody died in between, but also and went about and told about it. So in other words, it comes out, even according to the view, the dead are not themselves aware of worldly affairs, but they can be informed by more recently deceased people. In other words, the fact that this soul of this younger girl was aware that the mother got insulted, it could have been that somebody died in between Rosh Hashanah 2 and Rosh Hashanah 3, and the dead spirit, from here at least, the dead spirits communicate with each other and said, you know, what they said about your mother. The other spirit was alive when she heard that and told it to the spirit that was already dead for a couple of years. But it's no proof that the dead spirit itself, without any prior, without outside information, would know about it. So there's no proof. I'm going to have to stop it over here. There's a few more stories before we come to the conclusion about the dead knowing about what's going on in this world. Stay tuned for tomorrow. Okay. Have a good day, everybody. Enjoy the rain. I don't know if we're going to have a bonfire tonight. If we have this kind of rain, we'll let you know. All right. Take care. Sei gesund, everybody.